where does Texas Tech stand in terms of the most disappointing teams in college basketball? Because this was a team that was like preseason top 15, preseason top 20, brought in all these transfers, spent all this NIL money, and here they are in late January, and they are 0-7 in the Big 12. Is this, what's happened with this team, RC?
I wasn't high on them as everyone else was. So, for me, I didn't think they'd be at the bottom of the Big 12, but I wasn't as high on them. And I said that. I just didn't think they were going to be as – last year I thought what made them special was they were so big, so much athleticism and length and size on a perimeter. I didn't see that at the beginning of the year. And I know they've had some injuries, but I was never really high on Texas Tech in the sense of thinking that they were going to be what they had been in the previous years.
Yeah. Tyler, how much have you seen them play?
I've seen clips, and I would say they're having a disappointing year, 100%. I don't know if they're the most disappointing team in basketball, but bottom of the Big 12. But the Big 12 is a tough conference. They're going to lose some games, but I don't know if they want to lose every game. But yeah, they're having a disappointing. I put them right there with one of the most disappointing teams in basketball.
So they're one of the teams where there was NIL money spent to bring transfers in. And one of the concerns that I had with that level of, for lack of a better term, spending is the way that it kind of impacts the locker room, right? I think when you guys get to the NBA, it's a little bit different because everyone kind of knows, like, okay, this is what your salary is. This is what your salary is. This means you're going to play this many minutes. We all know that you're the star, right? I think it's a little bit more complicated when you get to college. And Tyler, I know you guys didn't deal with NIL when you were in college, but you spent 10 years in the NBA. So what is that dynamic like at the professional level, and how difficult will it be to kind of bring that down to a level where you're dealing with, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids?
I think it has an impact because I think NIL money, anytime you try to bring money into basketball, I think it's going to be kids are going to be selfish. Everybody wants to make money. How they do it in the NBA, it's totally different because you have contracts, and to me, you kind of know who your star players are, and the salaries kind of determine your importance to the team. And I'm not sure if the NIL is heading that way, but I think you're seeing a lot of people throw a lot of money at some of these players, and they're not really panning out to be the player they thought. And people are starting to realize that there's more to just throwing money at players. You got to have chemistry. You got to have a team that works together, period. And you're starting to see some NIL fallout for 100%.
RC?
It's simple to me.
That sigh was. Now you see why I got out of coaching.
No, it's just, I swear to you, I did think that, but listen, you know what? We saw that with Miami, when Nigel Pack got that money, and Isaiah Wong came out and was like, look, hey, and then it went away quietly. I'm assuming they took care of that. You got to know that, though. You got to know that. It's like if I'm bringing Tyler in, I'm going to know what he is of this team. And that's part of the negotiation where I'm going to be like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and, hey, this is going to be my big guy, and I'm going to make sure we're taking care of him or whatever. And that's just part of it. Most coaches in them will tell you they don't want to have to deal with it, but you have to deal with it. So if you don't, then, the shame on you. But if you're sitting here because some programs don't even have to deal with it. I think that's why. And I was blown away with even learning that like there's a lot of coaches and programs out there that don't have a person making $1 on NIL. So it's still evolving, it's still changing. And if you're not prepared for it one way or the other, then shame on you. If you're an institution that's choosing not to be a part of it, good luck, because things won't change because kids are going to go where the money is. So you better figure it out, because, this super seniors in this COVID years, you got 2 more in another year and a half. This is it. Then it's going to be like back like normal year, and you won't have these super seniors and everything else unless it's an injury. So, if that's the case, that like again, school wise, you got to figure that out. You got to do better with it. That's part of bringing in players. knowing how much they make and how much they're earning, and that's just part of your responsibility. If not, then you're just out of times.
Yeah. So I think the biggest issue with Texas Tech is they went out and they brought in these guys just to bring in these players instead of going out and saying, okay, we need to identify what's going to work with what we do. You mentioned how last year they had all 6'8", 6'6" to 6'8" guys with wingspans that are like 7 foot.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be their identity, almost like a Nova. Like everybody knows Nova plays this style. That's what I thought they were going to do.
I mean, that's the issue is you brought in a bunch of dudes that aren't going to be elite defenders for a guy that is supposed to be able to coach elite defensively. And it's a weird fit. It's a weird setup. You got Daniel Bacho there, but you go out and you get Fardalls coming in, right? You don't really have a point guard. You bring in Pop Isaacs, who's a guy that's like, I mean, he looks like me out there shooting, right? Just throwing up 40-footers left and right. So it's a weird fit, and it's not working. And I think it's one of those ones where it's a little bit of it's what other programs, as they kind of develop in this, have to look at a red flag. If you're going to go out and spend NIL money, make sure you're bringing in someone that fits with what you want to do and the style that you want to play. Don't just bring in names to bring in names.